Social welfare has been cut, and there are more cuts on the way, and yet the government are going to spend huge sums of money on Elizabeth Windsor's visit to Ireland. They are prepared to turn a blind eye to so many of our people who now depend on St. Vincent de Paul, and those who queue daily to receive food parcels from the Capuchin and Franciscan fathers around the country. On the 30th of August 2008, the Italian government compensated a former colony over $5 billion for 40 years of imperialism, colonial restitution. One of the fundamental principles of law is that if you rob someone, you pay them back and you compensate them, or you go to jail. Ireland was occupied by the British for over 800 years, and they still occupy 6 of our northern counties. We as a nation should just demand imperial colonial restitution from the British, compensating us for the genocide they perpetrated between 1845 to 1849, which their propaganda machine calls a famine. Let them compensate us for the civil war they created, which devastated our country. Let them return to us our precious Gaelic manuscripts that are held in British libraries and museums. Let them pay us rent for occupying 6 of our counties since 1922. Let them compensate us for the murder of our forebears who died under their imperial colonial rule. Let them compensate us, the Irish taxpayer, for it is us who have had to keep Gardaí, military personnel and customs officers at a border which they imposed on us in 1922. Many of you will recall from your days at school, Cuine Kilcash, Cadien meet fasta ganaimed, Ta deran a Gaelter lar, Neil Trachter Kilcash na Chailach, is ni Winkferen King Gabra. Our native Irish oak was cut down and used to build the ships of the Royal Navy. Let them compensate us. They did everything possible to wipe out the Irish language and Gaelic culture, which political geographers call ethnocide. Let them compensate us. I know many people who are going to send bank drafts to the power of 2,000 sterling pounds to Elizabeth Windsor and pay her back the 2,000 sterling her great-great-grandmother gave us during the period of genocide they called the famine, provided Elizabeth Windsor pays us colonial imperial restitution. In 1935, when General Tom Barry was arrested and taken to Union Quay Garda Barracks, he was asked to state the policy of the IRA. One of the objectives was to restore to the people the unfettered control of their own destiny and resources, while promoting their cultural independence. Last week we witnessed this cultural independence during Seachtain na Gaeilge. Cork City alone has over 50,000 people who are capable of communicating in our native language. To you, my dear young people, gathered here today, I ask you to be diligent in your study of the Irish language. Be attentive to those who instruct you in the Irish language. For over time, those who abandon their native language and treat it with indifference lose their own self-respect and their own identity. Because those who attempt to emulate an alien language and an alien culture end up becoming pathetic and wretched caricatures of what they are trying to copy. They are iteratra. They do not belong at home nor abroad. Ní lunta ach maidirini lahi ag sodar le sáil na Sasanig ag rád uhu an sax verle an brúscar chaintes massa sa down. My dear young people, you the young people, you are the fruit of Crossbarry. You are the same people who gave birth to General Tom Barry and all the men who fought here. You are the same people to whom this monument is erected. Enda Kenny stated as Taoiseach he would downgrade the status of our national language in our secondary schools. It highlights this will have detrimental consequences for the Irish language, and it also highlights Enda Kenny's ignorance and backwardness, because Ireland as a nation never sent rockets to the moon, manufactured missiles or atomic bombs, but the Irish language and Gaelic culture has contributed much to European civilization and the civilization of the world generally since the time of Patrick. You, the young people, you must resist his efforts, for you are the leaders of tomorrow, and you are duty-bound to pass on the Irish language and Irish traditions that you have received from your forebears to the next generation. For any attempt to change them or to eradicate them is an attack on you and on us, the Irish people. This year, we will celebrate with pride the 30th anniversary of the 10 men who gave their lives for Ireland in the H-blocks of Lankesh, because they saw pride and dignity in the cause of attaining an Irish Republic. Though they were born far and reared far, far away from Crossbarry's battlefield, they understood what Crossbarry stood for. That is, to live a life without freedom, dignity, high ideals and high principles is worthless. The 10 hunger strikers gave their young lives to see the tricolour flying in pride and dignity. A weak General Tom Barry came back to the battlefield of Crossbarry to support the battle that was taking place in the H-blocks of Lankesh weeks before his own death. He spoke from the heart, a man who suffered so much under British imperialism to his former comrades. He said, "I don't want you to fall out today until the same prayers are said for the men who are being crucified in the H-blocks of Lankesh. I want you to pray for them too, to show our unity with these men, many of whom are completely innocent and are railroaded by the same British who killed the men we commemorate here today." I believe the intended visit of Elizabeth Windsor to the 26th county state will be a grotesque spectacle of humiliation on the Irish people. Why doesn't she sort out all the problems that she and her ancestors created in this country? Elizabeth Windsor's sister, the so-called Princess Margaret, while fundraising in the United States of America, said, "The Irish are pigs." That is how Elizabeth Windsor and her family treated us, like pigs. They terrorized us. They inflicted pain, suffering, hardship and starvation on the Irish people and took what was not theirs to take, which is legally and morally wrong. Read any history book and one will see that Elizabeth Windsor and her ancestors are international terrorists. If Elizabeth Windsor wants a holiday in May, let her go to the International Criminal Court, where she can answer for the deeds that occurred while she was on the throne. Mary McAleese, who is a good ambassador for Ireland, should ask herself why there was never a visit of an English monarch to the 26th county state. It is quite simple, because they knew they were not welcome, and nothing has changed since. Mary McAleese must remember remember that she is living in the Vice-Regal Lodge, which was built by the British royal family by slave labour. People may not realise it, but the British royal family still have an enclave here in the 26th county state. Elizabeth Windsor's first cousin, the Duke of Devonshire, owns Lismore Castle, the riverbed of the Blackwater, the fishing rights of the Blackwater River and the surrounding land. What have our legislators done about this since the foundation of the Free State? What did the last government do about this matter? Nothing. They kept their mouths shut and drew their colossal salaries. As legislators, their role is to deal with legal matters, not filling potholes for votes. We must ask, how did Elizabeth Windsor's first cousin, the Duke of Devonshire, acquire Lismore Castle, the riverbed of the Blackwater, the fishing rights of the Blackwater River and the surrounding land? Did they buy it with cash? And if so, where are the title deeds? No. The Duke of Devonshire acquired Lismore Castle, the riverbed of the Blackwater River, the fishing rights of the Blackwater River and the surrounding land by blood. That was his family's reward for terrorising and killing people for the crown. I say, why don't we go over to England and seize Windsor Castle and create an Irish enclave? After all, is it not the British royal family who set the precedence in Lismore? I wonder what the international community would think of Elizabeth Windsor and her first cousin's British enclave down in Lismore and how they acquired it. Let the new government sort out this matter once and for all. After all, they're being paid well enough to do so. Instead of talking down to poor people, let them do their patriotic duty and rid us of Elizabeth Windsor's first cousin, the Duke of Devonshire, and claim back what they acquired by murder and every devilish trick one can imagine. The ballad tells us only our rivers run free. Well, they do not. Elizabeth Windsor's first cousin owns the Blackwater River. Now is the time for a national committee to be set up to claim back our rivers. General Tom Barry described the Battle of Crossbarry as a composite victory of 104 officers and men, banded together as disciplined comrades. No genius of leadership or prowess of any officer or man was responsible, for all shared in the effort that shocked the British authorities in the power of their own armed forces. To address you here today, the 90th anniversary of the Battle of Crossbarry, one of the greatest battles in Irish history, but not our last battle, was a great personal privilege and an honour. But in truth, the honour sleeps in the soil of West Cork, awaiting the final resurrection. The valorous men of the 3rd West Cork Brigade, long will they be remembered, long will they be revered. Solas na bhrachas go bheicead, agus clíreach na engel go gloisiad, mo bhuachas live as ocht vernéisteacht.